in the houses. Sun in the first house. The first house is ruled by Aries. Aries is a fire, and so is the sun, so they get along pretty well. The sun has a lot to do with the inner child, or the ego, or that desire to be authentic with oneself, to live one's purpose, to magnify and shine light onto one's purpose. And Aries is a will force, a power, a drive to do. So when you put the willpower together with an idea that shines and leadership, you have a pretty powerful connection. You have a pretty powerful force to deal with. So someone who has the sun in their first house has basically made an agreement with the universe to come here to develop themselves, their leadership skills, their presentation with the world, their receptivity with other people. People with the sun in the first house tend to be natural leaders. Young people tend to like people with the sun in the first house, as the sun deals with children. The sun is associated with Leo, which rules the fifth house. So you have the energies of the sun in the first house combined with Aries. Then you have someone who naturally has the drive to want to manage other people, to be in charge of their own lives. People with the sun in the first house don't like to be told what to do. They really do like to lead. And if they find themselves in situations where there is a group, they will naturally be the leader of the group. They'll take charge. They'll take action. They know what to do, when to do it, because that Aries energy combined with the sun gives them an instinctive will to do. Aries doesn't necessarily think. Aries is more of a drive to act, usually by gut instinct or by drive or passion. Mars is about how we get what we want. The energy of Aries is about how we pursue our lives and pursue our attainment of goals and get satisfaction out of life. So when you combine that with the energies of the sun brings the ego to fruition. And that's not always a bad thing. The ego is not always a bad thing. It's a tool, just like anything. A car is a tool. You can drive it on the highway and stay between the lines, or you can drive it off a cliff. You can do the same with your ego. So someone with the sun in the first house with positive aspects, for example, if you have other planets that are trine to that or sextile connected to that, it'll bring even more emphasis and access to tools to develop that personal expression. But if you run into squares where the sun is square something, has say a square to Saturn, then you might have someone who's overly stern and controlling, and maybe people won't like them because they're so hard. Maybe they're really obsessed with time and discipline. But there's a lot of different aspects that can affect the flavor of that sun in the first house. But generally, the sun in the first house is going to be someone who's really driven to get what they want, to achieve, and to express their will and their inner child honestly. It's a really warm placement, brings a lot of really good opportunities, and these people make great action instigators where they can help other people, encourage other people to also take action. As friends, they tend to be very generous. The sun is very giving. Gold is the metal that's associated with the sun, and iron is the metal associated with Mars. So if you think gold and iron together, you have swords and Mars. Mars is very aggressive. Mars is very militant, combative. It knows what it wants and it goes for it, and it doesn't mind taking a head to get there when it's negatively aspected. But Mars in its positive energy is the lower octave of Pluto, which both of those are very powerful forces. But Mars is a directed force, whereas Pluto is an explosive force. So with Mars being a directed force in the house of Aries and the sun sitting there, is going to be a very directed type of leadership, usually some kind of specific goal attached to that leadership, or specific design in that personal will or expression of that leader. And so you can usually see what is attached to that sun, whatever's aspecting it will flavor the expression of that will and that need to go get. The sun is also associated with joy and self-expression and creativity. When the sun is in the first house, you find that the creative will is very expressive. These tend to be very creative thinkers. They always have a new idea. They think outside the box. The sun is also associated with Apollo in the Greek pantheon, who is the mentor of children. And so a lot of times people with sun in the first house tend to have a lot of children around them. They like children. They work well with children. There may be other aspects in their chart that make them not want to be parents, or maybe make them not really care to have their own homestead and family. But the sun in the first house will definitely give rise to inspiring energies. So young people will look up to them, want to be mentored by them, will appreciate the contribution that they bring to society and the leadership that they bring to the table. If you're the sun in the first house, I congratulate you for being a born leader, and I really hope you do the very best in being the very best leader that you can. Check out the next video to see sun in the second house. I'm signing off, Desiree Fultz. See you in the next video.